In this video, I'll show you how I update my countertops with epoxy resin to get that somewhat marble look. All the materials that I use will be down in the description below. The first thing that I did was lightly sand the countertops with 220 grit sandpaper. Then I did 2 coats of the Rust-Oleum primer in gray. Then I taped up the plastic to protect the cabinets and the floors from when the epoxy drips, because this stuff gets really messy. Now that the primer is dry, I begin to mix the epoxy. It is 1:1 ratio with stone coat countertops. You want to make sure to mix the epoxy really well and get all the sides and the bottom. I used the bottom half of a water bottle for my black mica powder. A little bit goes a long way. So the rest of the epoxy, I just sprayed the white spray paint inside and used the mixing stick or the craft sticks from a dollar store to mix it in. And this is where I realized that I messed up. I didn't mix enough epoxy and it started to run really thin whenever I rolled it out. So I went ahead and made the same amount that I made before to where it will cover and it will start pouring over and self-leveling, and it'll have enough to do that. I did add the white spray paint to it to where it's not like a completely white, so it still has that translucent color and it adds that dimension whenever the white isn't just like a solid white. Then I go ahead and start adding the black veining and just going with the roller to soften up the lines and kind of mix it in with the white to turn like grayish spots or fading of gray. This is what the first coat of the epoxy looks like. I do want to go ahead with a second coat and add more darker veining to it. I did mix in the same amount as before of the epoxy, and I sprayed the spray paint inside with the white spray paint, but I made it a little bit more translucent to where you could still see the gray underneath of the first coat, and it will have more dimension. Like if you see it in person, it's amazing how much dimension it has to like depth to the color of it. On the second coat, I did want to have those black lines for the veining. With the last coat, I kind of blended them too much to where it just kind of mixed in with the white and just all turned gray. This time around, I did want to have the contrast and just keep the black veining, just kind of soften them up with the roller and not mess with them too much. For both coats of the epoxy, I used the torch 3 times every 5 minutes or so to just pop the air bubbles. Then I went ahead and took off the tape so the epoxy doesn't harden with the tape on there, because you won't be able to get it out after about like 2 hours or so. It'll be hard to take out the tape after that. Then I go ahead and every 15 minutes or so for the next 2 hours, I go in with one of the little painting sticks or the craft sticks from the dollar store and scoop off the sides, the edges, the drip marks from the edges, so it doesn't harden that way, because it will. I did mess up on one little part where it has like a little drip line I didn't get at the edge, but I mean, it's not noticeable. That's one of the things that you want to make sure to do for the next 2 hours after epoxy starts to harden. So this is my end result with the epoxy countertops. I really liked working with the Stone Coat Countertop Epoxy. I did try the epoxy from Home Depot. It's just, I'm not sure, the Glaze, I think that's the brand. I didn't like it as much. It was more yellowish, like a yellowish tone. Whenever I did like my little sample pieces, it did have yellow to it. This one does not. So far, I did do my entire kitchen with the same design with Stone Coat Countertops Epoxy, and it's been a month. I haven't had any yellowing or any, I guess, problems with it. This is my kitchen that I did about a month ago with the Stone Coat Countertops Epoxy, and I like it so far. I haven't had any issues. It's easy to work with, and I do recommend it. If you guys enjoyed this video, please subscribe, and thank you for watching.